Madam Speaker, today I find myself in this honorable House making a contribution to what I would regard as the most important bill in the history of the modern Virgin Islands. When you look at the photographs inside this honorable house, and quite a number of them are missing. When you look at the 4 busts of the honorable men on the outside, they survived the 2 most devastating hurricanes in the Atlantic. When you consider the blood, sweat, and tears of all the men and women who came before us and made extreme sacrifices on behalf of the people of the Virgin Islands so that we can enjoy the standard of life that we have today, although it has been disrupted somewhat by the events. When you consider the constitutional advancements that have been made over a number of decades, the last one being the most recent one being in 2007, you have to appreciate and understand that those men and women weren't always united, but they were prepared to debate and defend the issues of the day because of what they believed they stood for and how their conscience guided them. Today I find myself in a place and in a time of history where my conscience must be my guide. Madam Speaker, I've spent the last 4 nights in this week because I think I need for the people of this territory to understand that this decision that we are embarking to make today is not an easy one. I've spent the last 4 nights of this week in my bed tossing and turning, trying to come up with something, even if it's one line, that would allow me to say without any fear of contradiction or reservation that I can support this bill before us in its current, and I want to stick that in people's mind, in its current form, that I can support it in its current form today. I've prayed about it. I've consulted with family members here and overseas. I've consulted with close friends here and overseas. I've spoken to prominent people in our society. And on the 18th of March, as was read by the member of the 3rd District yesterday, I was prepared to put my name on a document that said that I could not support the agency, the bill before us in its current form. And I rise this morning to reiterate that position. I know that the Premier and a lot of civil servants have worked extremely hard over the last several months to get us to where we are today. I know a lot of sacrifices and sleepless nights have been taken by the Premier and all those persons. And I understand that everybody wants the best for the people of the Virgin Islands, and that includes me. I don't like how my country looks today, but we have come a long way since September 6th and 7th, and 2 weeks after that, we have come a long way in 6 months. But the truth has to be told. We have a long way to go. We have a long way to go. And for us to get where we want to get to, no one, no agency, no foreign and Commonwealth office, nobody should be rushing us to do it because money is being offered to us at what is considered the best rate that you can get these days. I'm not frightened by the money. I'm not frightened by 400 million US dollars. I was a young boy living in Johns Hole in 1971 when we moved from Main Street in 1970. And when I was on Main Street in 1970, Wickhamski was just winding up its reclamation. I know, I used to play out there in the sand. Sometimes I used to sink in the sinkholes, losing my tennis shoes, having to go home to face my parents as to where my shoes was. When I moved to Johns Hole in 1971, when I looked down from our house to Wickhamski, you could have seen from the cultural center straight down to the pub. There were 4 buildings on Wickhamski. There was Chase Manhattan Bank, Scotia Bank, Barclays Bank, and the now Cutlass Tower. 4 buildings on Wickhamski. What do you see out there today? 50 years later, what do you see out there today? Hundreds of buildings owned by the people of the Virgin Islands. You think they were built in 2 years or 5 years? When you look at the hillsides in Roetown, you could have counted the houses on the hillside. When we moved to Johns Hole in 1971, there were 3 houses there. Leander Nibbs, Alfred Penn, Clarence Christian. Look at Johns Holes today. Point I'm making, Madam Speaker, is that nobody should be under any illusion that because we have gotten this far now and we had a major catastrophe that we should be in a rush to replace everything that we had. I'm not in any rush. I am not in any rush when I do not have sufficient information to arm me to make an intelligent decision on behalf of the people of the Virgin Islands. We commenced our discussions about how we're going to rebuild our territory back in November with vague information. And over time, several meetings, we were furnished with information. We were furnished with information with letters from the Foreign and Commonwealth Office. We were in discussions with respect to how we respond to those letters. We were concerned about the tone and the contents of some of those correspondences, bearing in mind that we have been told all the time that we are operating in a partnership arrangement. When partners are involved in anything, there is always supposed to be clear lines of communication, and certainly in some instances compromise and understanding to get to a common conclusion. A few weeks ago, we started to discuss this very important bill before us today, the Virgin Islands Recovery and Development Agency Act of 2018. And I have 4 copies on my desk, 4 copies that we have been making changes and adjustments to in the last several days. Because we need to understand and we need to ensure that a bill that is passed in this House is a bill that the people of the Virgin Islands can be comfortable with. The financial implications must be that the people of the territory can afford to pay for it. The generations yet unborn must not be saddled with things and debt that we incur because we were in a rush to do something. And Madam Speaker, I believe that we are being rushed, because I've been asking the question all the time, what is the rush? What is the rush? Because we still have people that are homeless, because our schools are abandoned and not functional, because our roads are still in a state of disrepair, because our public sector is not functioning at 100%, and I could go on and on. Because those things that were normal to us prior to 2017, September the 6th, are not normal, means we must be rushed. I don't understand why anyone would now come to us and say, at least, and I'm speaking about information that has been presented to me as an elected member, why anyone would tell me 10 days ago that one of the reasons why we have to pass this bill in the House before March the 29th is because the UK government is going to be debating their budget, which they hope to have passed by the 1st of April. And in their debate and in their consideration, the guarantee for the loans of up to £300 million has to be considered. We had a meeting with the governor a little over a week ago, and I asked the question, Governor, is there an alternative if we miss the deadline? He said, yes, there is an alternative, but you know, the preference is, and that's the problem. The preference is to go in the direction that they want you to go in, not what is comfortable for us. I picked up a young lady this morning had a very frank conversation. And she said, Honorable Christian, why are we rushing this thing? She said, I'm a young lady, I'm a civil servant, and I'm scared. I think you all need to take your time and borrow the money in stages. I'm paraphrasing what she said. Some of us will say incrementally. She said, I think you all need to borrow the money in stages, pick out the things that are important, meaning prioritize, and rebuild our country brick by brick until we get it back better than what it used to be. I subscribe to her thinking. Brick by brick, at a rate and a pace that we can afford, prioritizing those things that we need to get on with, and let's steady as we go rebuild our country. But I am concerned about the tone and the language that I've seen in documents coming from the FCO. One as recent as this week, indicating that you must delete this from the bill, insert that. We prefer you have this, we prefer you have that. And so the question I'm asking is, well, why am I going through this exercise with this? Because unless somebody proves me wrong, I believe that by the time we finish chopping this up in committee stage, and we send it down to the governor for his assent, that they're going to send it back to us and say, this is not acceptable. Somebody has to prove me wrong. Somebody has to prove me wrong. And I'm saying that because of the correspondences that I've seen in the last few weeks. We are supposed to be in a partnership. Let us sit down and negotiate. If you have a budget to pass on the 1st of April, give me some allowance for some breathing space so that you and your team can meet with my representatives, meaning the ministers of government who have constitutional powers, to discuss exactly what is comfortable for us that you can live with. I am not happy, Madam Speaker, that our forefathers fought to get us to where we are today. And if you read through this document, there's virtually no provision for any of the ministers of government who have the authority under the Constitution to run their ministries to have any involvement, except via the cabinet, who's chaired by the governor. And in some instances, Madam Speaker, the bill is coming back saying that the governor must approve certain things. Certain things in this bill gives the governor the power to approve. So why is the front row here? Why is the front row here? Why are we here? I was asking one of my colleagues yesterday, one of my senior colleagues, because I'm internalizing, I'm trying to think through this whole process. Why do I come to the House to debate something that I'm comfortable with? Why can't it be the reverse? We draft a bill, we create it, and make it in a manner that when we get to committee stage, it doesn't warrant the amount of time and effort that is spent. And I think his response was, you could do it that way, but you will miss the opportunity for you to have a debate and for you to be able to really deal with the bill in a manner that you would want to. But maybe I may be thinking down the road. I think that this process that we have right now is flawed. And it's flawed because whenever the debate is finished and we go into committee and we slice it and we dice it and we chop it up in language that is suitable to us and we send it where it's supposed to go and they say no, then all of our efforts would have been in vain. I would have wasted my time. Madam Speaker, are there options available to us for borrowing the money that we require? Are there other options available out there? Have all technocrats put their heads in a place where they can look at alternatives, or is it that the framework that was sent out to us sometime late last year is the only option that is on the table? That framework is how this document was designed. Is that the only option on the table? I don't like when people tell me yes and I know there's an option. Give me the options and then let me decide. But it doesn't seem as if we have much option. And we are trying to sell this to the people on the premise that we are in a bad place, our country has been destroyed, and the only how we can get it repaired and rebuilt is to borrow that $400 million and get on with it. That's how we're selling it to the public. Things are so bad that we have no other choice. I beg to differ. Give me some more time so that I can look at those options based on those choices, or give me choices and options. But don't tell me this is it or else. Take it or leave it. Because we have been told that if we don't approve this bill in this honorable house and we miss the deadline for the UK budget, we have to wait on another whole year for any consideration to be given to what we need to do. Better late than never. I don't mind waiting another year. Or I don't mind the UK saying that within their regulations or their rules there's a provision for us to still get in after they pass their budget. Somebody needs to be clear and honest with us and say what other options are available out there. Can I borrow money from the Social Security Board using the current MTFP and the protocols for effective financial management? Can I use those two tools to continue to borrow from local sources? So we understand that we didn't get a response from the local banks and the Social Security Board, so maybe we need to give them another letter, another call, and say, what can you offer the people of the Virgin Islands? This all or nothing approach is something that I'm not totally happy with. We are grown men and women, educated, elected by the people of these islands to make decisions on their behalf, and you cannot and should not be doing it blindly. Give me all of the information that is required for me to make a decision. Don't give me some. Do we need to repeat the BVI Airways saga, where individuals have gone with $7.2 million of our money and there's no airline flying. And we're waiting for them to tell us what they did with our money. Months ago, they were supposed to be flying. Again, I came to this house and I put my neck on the chopping block and supported that initiative. Only to find out that there was information that I was never privy to. I stopped making decisions without information. I'm sorry. With the time that I have left here, when I ask for information, unless there's a national security issue at stake and I don't get it, the people of the territory will understand that Archibald C. Christian will vote his conscience all the time. Not some of the times, all the time. Dead serious about that. This is not an easy bill before us this morning. It is not easy. And I don't want the people of the territory to be thinking that we are up here stalling for time. I'm not stalling for time. I want to make sure that I do something that protects you and generations down the road to come. You know, I could drop off the scene tomorrow morning, Madam Speaker, and I could say I had enough. But I am not that selfish. I can walk away from this. And I can let somebody else come in and fill the vacuum or fill my space. And if they're willing to always be ready to rubber stamp something, because that can happen. But if you elected me to come to this house, I will fight for you. I will fight for what I believe is right for you. And if you disagree with me, I will accept that. The bill before us is not about Orlando Smith, Ronnie Skelton, Matt Vanderpool, Marion Walwyn, Marlon Penn, Dolores Christopher, Alvaro Maduro Keynes, Mitch Turnbull, Julian Fraser, Mark Vanderpool, no Andrew Foy. The bill is not about us. It's about what is right. What is right for all people. And I'm not going to give anybody the impression that money makes me frightened. I've seen a lot of it pass through my hands. Sometimes I regret that I didn't do better things with it. I understand, Madam Speaker, that a structure has to be put in place to ensure that the monies that we borrow, the monies that are donated to us, the monies that are granted to us, whatever the source is that comes to us, I totally understand and support that it has to be managed and managed well. I go back to the days when the NDP was elected, when one of our themes was value for money. I understand the value for money argument very well. I am a real estate appraiser by training. And when the bank sends me out to find out if Marlon, who got $100,000, spent it properly, I am not thinking about Marlon. I'm thinking about the bank. I'm thinking about my reputation and the ethics under which I have to operate to represent the bank, to also protect his interests. That's how we're supposed to look at the 400 million US dollars that we are supposed to borrow over time. Some people say 5 to 7 years. I don't know. But you want to tell me that within the halls of this current honorable house, that none of the members here possess the skills, the intellect and the ability to be able to manage those things in association with an agency, that the agency must be something unto itself. Because why? They don't trust us. I haven't stolen one penny. And I intend to take 1 penny of government money since I got elected. Right now the government owe me money. Huh? There's nothing wrong with us having an involvement. An agency is something that I subscribe to. But the composition of the agency, the terms and conditions under which the agency is going to be employed, I have my reservations. We have a provision for procurement in this bill, for procurement. And we are asking that the process of procurement must be in a manner that ensures that BV Islanders line up at the door for us. Not line up at the door for us and get their hands open and say, give it to me. But the opportunity for them to be able to participate in the reconstruction and development of this country is something that nobody should second guess. Nobody from another country should be second guessing whether we have the skills and expertise in the BVI to deal with what we have to deal with. I reminded us a few minutes ago that it took us about 50 to 60 years to build what we have today. And Madam Speaker, the majority of it was built by Virgin Islanders with assistance of our brothers and sisters from other Caribbean islands. Tell me what has been destroyed or damaged. I see buildings, I see roads, I see infrastructure. Who built them? We built them. So why do I need all this international expertise to come in to show me how to rebuild a house? I got building codes that shows me how to do it, and we revised it since the hurricane. We are well on our way with making the changes that we need to make. It doesn't mean, Madam Speaker, that I'm against some technical expertise that may come in. That brings me to another point. We haven't passed this yet. There's no agency functioning. And I was hearing rumors about there are people here working at the port, and there are people here giving out contracts, and there are people here working with various government agencies doing work. And I said, no man, you gotta be joking. I'm an elected member, you know. And I'm hearing things and I'm saying to the people, you don't know what you're saying. Then yesterday on my way here, going up along James Water Francis Drive to turn there by Delta, there were approximately 8 men by the mouth of the Pulse of God that goes across the highway. And there were 3 men that I'd never seen in my life. And I said, but the people I'm telling the truth. Working alongside some engineers from Public Works. Why I don't know this? Why I do not know who is in my country and exactly what they are doing? That cannot be a secret. Because when people ask me a question on the street, I should be able to say, yes, those were 4 engineers from the UK that the Ministry of Communication and Work brought in. They were sent by the UK government and they are picking up the tab. But I don't know what it is. I don't know who's paying the bill. I don't know the terms of reference, how long they're going to be here, exactly what areas they're looking at. I, as an elected member, don't know diddly squat. Ain't that a shame? But yet, this document, the most important document that I will sit and debate and go through as a member of the House of Assembly, whose genesis or birth or beginning came from a letter from the FCO to the Premier. I gotta say amen to it today. Why am I here? I left here last night. I have not had a headache in months. I left here last night. I have not had a headache in months. And I fought the whole of last night to make sure that I came here today to tell my people of the Virgin Islands, my people that I love dearly, that I can't stand to see the pain and suffering and difficulties that they are currently experiencing. I came to tell you that I will look out for your best interests all the time, but I cannot do it blindsided. I should have information to make an intelligent and informed decision. It is not fair to me. It is not fair to any elected member of this House. I have met a few of the elderly persons in this society, and madam, forgive me because sometimes it's going to sound repetitive, but I'm just trying to indicate that there's a cross-section in our community that is paying attention. I am yet to come across a senior citizen that tells me, hurry up and get on with it. Most, if not all, that I've spoken to have said, Mr. Christian, why are you rushing this thing for? Take your time. The BVI was not built overnight. And it ain't going to get repaired overnight. I'm paraphrasing what I've been told. So watch the hurry. Are you going to let money frighten, are you? Yesterday, the Deputy Premier said he went to a movie, and I feel sorry for him because I know he tries his best to stay up past 8 o'clock. But he was able to pull from the movie a quote: "Wise men build bridges and fools build barriers." This was the quote from the New King. And I say, yeah, that's true. But I could counter that quote by saying, wise men must use their knowledge to inform the people when they expect to make the right decision. We must use our knowledge to inform the people of this decision. And we cannot make it with information missing, information lacking, and in a vacuum. So if I'm a wise man today, my people of the Virgin Islands, I can't make an intelligent decision for you. But unfortunately, I have to vote. I got to vote this bill. It doesn't make any sense for anybody to think that I'm going to change my mind now, because it's public knowledge. My signature and my name is on a document dated the 18th of March, along with 4 of my other colleagues. I just want to read the last paragraph of the letter again, Madam Speaker, with your kind permission. We therefore confirm that we do not support the establishment of a recovery and development agency of this nature, doing so mindful of the need to protect the current and future development of the people of the Virgin Islands and their right to self-determination. And the reason why I said that is because I'm not dispelling the fact that I'm not supporting an agency. Not based on this. Not based on this. Now, do I have an option to retract my vote today? No, I don't. Depending on what the rest of my colleagues say and how they vote, it may very well pass. And it may pass with all the changes that may be made that makes us comfortable. But it ain't about us alone, unfortunately. There are some other players involved in this. And that player is the United Kingdom government. As we speak right now, Anguilla is going through a similar exercise. 90% of their homes have been devastated. The tourism sector significantly affected. Roads destroyed. Schools destroyed. Public facilities destroyed. They were promised a $60 million grant from the UK government. They don't have it yet. This is March of 2018. They were promised that by the Prime Minister back in November of 2017. A £60 million grant. They don't have it yet. So I want our people to understand. You think because they promise that they can guarantee up to £400 million, $400 million, £300 million, that the money gonna start to flow tomorrow morning? No, it ain't working like that. We have a lot of papers to sign, a lot of documents to sign, and it's gonna take months before that money begins to trickle down in our economy. And that is what we need you, the people, to understand. We should not fool you into thinking that money is going to roll tomorrow morning. We had the approval to borrow $65 million already. Where is it? Where is it? We haven't been able to touch it up to yet. And we are making promises to people. I don't like fooling people. I'm a realist. If I were to predict exactly how long it's going to take us to start seeing some money trickle down in our economy, I would say not under 6 months. Probably October, November, we'll really start to see things begin to happen. Madam Speaker, at the commencement of the House of Assembly, when we convened in the Save the Seed Energy Center, when I got up to take my contribution, it was a difficult thing to do. It took me a few minutes to compose myself, thanks to my Honorable Junior Minister of Trade. By patting me on the back, I was able to compose myself. And you know, people have, you know, I'm like my colleague, the member for the 9th District. I don't read blogs anymore. Blogs have nothing positive to offer me. Because all I see us doing in this country is tearing down each other. I actually hope there's a day when, if people want to blog, have the courage to put your name to watch your blog. Until such time, you're a coward. And one of those cowards blog, name is Crocodile Tears. He up there shedding. Madam, I don't shed crocodile tears. And this bill here has caused me to shed some tears in the last 2 nights, including last night. I drove here this morning, picked up the phone and I called a stalwart of this community, and I said to that person that I am confronted with the most difficult decision that I have to make as an elected member. I need your advice. Even though I made it already, I just need your advice. Actually, I called 2. And none of them knew that I was calling each other. They came to the same conclusion. Archie, vote your conscience. You pledge allegiance to the people of the territory. Use your conscience and let that be your guide. I'm grateful to the Premier for appointing me as his junior minister of tourism, and I will do all that is necessary in my power to support him and his administration. I've done that faithfully for the last 6 years. The records can bear me out on that. But sometimes, Madam Speaker, we all can be on the same page at the same time. I find myself not to be on this page at this time. Not yet. Not yet. And if somewhere down the road I can go and say, based on the final version of this, if it is passed, assented to, I will go back and say, okay, I can support it now. But we're talking about today, people. We're talking about today. Today, this is what is in front of me. I don't know what's going to be in front of me in the next 6 to 12 hours. It's going to be a long day. I want my colleagues to take their time. Even though I am a proponent and supporter of time limits, today, take your time. Don't let nobody rush you. This is not an easy decision to make in the most difficult time in the history of the Virgin Islands. Today, this is not the easiest decision to make in the most difficult time of the Virgin Islands. But let's look at our past and look at the men and women that trailblaze across this territory. Look at them on the inside and look at them on the outside. Look at the Constitution that we have before us today. And Madam Speaker, I suspect that even though there is documentation going back and forth between the Foreign and Commonwealth Office, I don't think they fully understand our Constitution. Because if they fully understood their Constitution, the last letter that we got on the 18th of March, they would not have written it. Or implied what they think needs to happen. Somebody gonna prove me wrong. My emotions are very high again today. Extremely high. Because when I leave here at some point in time today, I have to go face the music out there. I do not have the liberty to pick up the telephone and call anybody in the United Kingdom Parliament or in the FCO to say that I, as an elected member, wish to get some guidance from you or wish to have a conversation with you regarding the recovery and development of the territory for my people. I don't have that. I ain't got them kind of leverage. Only leverage I have is through my premier and my ministers of government, the 5 ministers of government. And I believe that the power to get on with the recovery and the development of this country should be vested in them in association with an agency, not vice versa. For a modern democracy, that is wrong. It's not right. We are not children anymore. We should not be dictated to. Let us have a conversation. We disagree with this. We disagree with that. Insert this, insert that. Delete this, delete that. Since when? Is that what a partnership is all about? A modern society? This recovery and development is all Brexit. This is all Brexit. And Madam Speaker, I keep on saying in this honorable house, and I do not understand why we do not have the courage and the will to do it. But I'm going to sound like a broken record and I'm going to continue to repeat it. Whenever we come to this house and we are passing laws that directly impact people's lives, in some instances we should use a referendum to get public opinion. And this is one time when we should have had a referendum to get the people's opinion. Because if we had that, then we could come in here and say, this is what the people want. And I would have no choice but to support it. But I can't really gauge. You have public opinion going to the left and to the right. What percentage is to the left and what percentage is to the right? How many ups and how many downs? How many yes, how many no's? 13 elected people have to make this critical decision today. 13. A referendum would have been my preference. Put it out there in the public. Give the public all the information that they need. Hide nothing from the public. These are the correspondences that we got from the FCO, void of any pages missing. This is our response. This is the proposed development and recovery plan. And you know, we went through that process. We went through that process for almost a month. We had the stakeholders meeting, and then we had the public meetings. And the public, in most instances, was absolutely right with what they were saying. But then, you know, when you think back about the whole process, Even that we were trying to rush. Honorable Christopher? Even that we were trying to rush. Only to understand a couple of days ago why we were rushing. Because we have a deadline. Listen, I do appraisals. I have deadlines. Sometimes I have to call my client and say, I need an extension. I had to do it this week. Because this week is a very important week. All of my deadlines for those reports, I had to extend them by a week. Because the people's business is more important. So we had these public meetings and we were trying to get through them as fast as possible. Genesis of the FCO document. Do it fast or else. Let me commend the civil servants headed by Broderick Penn, who headed up the recovery team for having all those public meetings. And Madam Speaker, I was to several of them. And he told me that in some of the stakeholders' meetings, he wished we were there. Because the arrows that were being shot at him and his people, politicians could take those arrows. I could say those civil servants are stalwarts. They're only doing their job. The public relation team that went out and put out all the ads and provided all the information, kept on bombarding the airways for the public to attend those meetings. That was crucial. That was important. So I want to commend him and all of the civil servants, every single one of them, men and women. They sacrificed their family and time for the public to be able to get information. And now we are here. We are here. I want the best for the people of the Virgin Islands. We deserve the best. We are hard-working people. We built our country brick by brick, sweat and tears, and in some instances, blood. We shouldn't give it up because somebody says they have a good deal at the best rate and a lot of money. Should not be about money. The moral fabric and the principles by which this country was built on is something that we should stand for and should never, never replace with anything else. Selling our souls to the devil. No. So, Madam Speaker, I look forward to the session where we try and chop it up some more. And God help us. God help us. I pray, it is my prayer, that God helps us to come up with something that makes sense and that generations to come can enjoy. I thank you very much.